I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
So, as a professional as you are, that is the perfect transition into the next thing we want to talk about was the other players that deserve some praise today for their performance. It's easy to, say Tammy is the man of the match, and he was, right? And I even tweeted Chelsea's, man of the match poll. Of course it's Tammy, but I loved Kovacic, and it was great to see him getting love on social media because he hasn't always gotten it. His ability to stand out in a midfield three of Jorginho and Barkley was great. At Statman Dave said Mateo Kovacic's game by numbers versus Norwich, 81% pass accuracy, 20 for 27 final third passes, 6 of 6 take-ons, 4 for 6 tackles won, 3 fouls won, 1 assist, and I have to go back. He had 6 dribbles. Him and Barkley both had 6 dribbles, which was amazing. Emerson, by the way, with 5. Another player who I think had a great day out, Nick. So I'll let you continue to wax on about Kovacic, or you can even go down the short list we have of players who had fantastic days out.
Sure. Yeah, I think Kovacic is a great place to start. Obviously, you don't have N'Golo Kante in this game, which is a huge loss for any team, but particularly ours, because he's just been playing so well the last couple of matches. Kovacic, Jorginho pivot worked in the preseason. Certainly in a midfield three was a little bit different in the way it functioned today, but I really thought his performance was great. He was able to control the ball. He was able to make some pretty dynamic passes. Certainly setting up Tammy for the third goal was great. But I think, to me, Dan, his dynamism defensively was where I really, really enjoyed his performance. He made some critical tackles when Norwich was trying to break free, and I think his ball control in tight quarters to not give the ball up was special.
Yeah, one benefit of not having Eden Hazard on the pitch this season is that I can actually tell when it's Kovacic playing, and that's a big positive there. But he definitely has excelled in a way, and I think we will own the fact that maybe we were a little critical of him as a acquisition, as one of the only players Chelsea could sign in this season, this transfer window. But he's definitely coming good and definitely showing that he has a lot of a role to play in this high press system, in this high intensity environment, and he's got a motor. And to see him actually go through the match and start to play 90 minutes, which we didn't see a lot of last season. We saw times where he would play 60, 70 minutes. So we wondered, why isn't he capable of playing a whole game? Why isn't he capable of offering the full duration? And that's a really nice transition to see too, because if he can continue this level, continue winning back, maybe even continue assisting play, then he definitely is going to have a significant role to play in this midfield for Chelsea this season, because he's offering everything Naz that Lampard wants out of a midfielder who's going to win you the ball, who's going to contribute to attack, and who's not going to be able to who's not going to give up for 90 minutes.
Yeah, so the reason why Frank Lampard gets frustrated about the youth question a lot is because he wants to praise guys like Kovacic as well, and not sort of lock it down just to Mount Abraham. We all get excited about young guys, but they deserve praise too. And yeah, his story is quite interesting because he was a wonder kid of epic proportions as well, and he's not quite lived up to his potential. So this Chelsea move is very important for him, this summer move, because he's hoping he can become the player that he's always promised to be. He's always promised he's a very good player already, but people expected him to be a superstar like Luka Modric or something like that. He's not quite got to that level. So this being at Chelsea is very important, and being trusted. And he's probably the most similar to Kante. When Kante is injured, he's a guy you probably look to step in and do the job. Sort of ball winner, carrying the ball from in attacking transition. He's a great dribbler, like you said. You think he's Eden Hazard sometimes because he kind of looks like him from afar when he dribbles. And Lampard loves that. But I think he's lacking a bit of identity in his game. I think we saw that last season. Everyone's saying he doesn't score enough goals, which he doesn't. He probably could do with adding a bit more of a final third threat. He needs to find out what he's good at. He seems to be good at a lot of things, but what kind of midfielder does he want to become? Just a defensive guy, or a guy who contributes in attack as well, box to box? It's going to be interesting to see how he develops at Chelsea.
Again, Lampard is going to be a great person to kind of help him find that identity. Touching on Mount quick. So this is from @ChelseaFC on Twitter saying, Frank Lampard has arrived to speak to the media and starts by saying how delighted he is for Tammy Abraham and Mason Mount after their goals. He points out how Mount smoothly adapted to being shifted out to the left before kickoff once Pedro's injury in the warm-up happened. Again, he probably is just starting that off now, so you guys just don't ask about it. Just, check the box. I praise the youth. Now there's other things. And then @F Talent Scout saying Mason Mount had 1 goal, 38 passes, 84% pass accuracy, 5 shots, 2 key passes, 2 dribbles, 1, 2 tackles, 1. Little genius, pure joy to watch. But one I think I'm not that surprised, or I'm sorry, I am more surprised about is the Zouma tweet. Now, as that was your tweet. He won 100% of his duels. Barkley at 90%, Emerson at 88, Azpi at 87, yada yada. He just talked about how like the back line looked way more solid, and I think why most people probably assume that when Rudiger's healthy, he'll come in right away for Zouma. So I'd be interested to hear kind of what you think Chelsea's center back pairing will be when Rudiger's healthy, but then also, you can elaborate on Zouma's performance on the day.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to predict, to be honest. I think Chelsea are going to rotate heavily this season. Between those 3 centre-backs, Rudiger, Zouma and Christensen, it's going to be 2 games a week after the international break. But, the most important thing about Zouma and Christensen is that I think Rudiger could have started this game. I think he's fit enough. I watched him play midweek in the under-23 game where they beat Liverpool comfortably. Rudiger looked absolutely fine. I think he's fit. He said he was fit in an interview as well. But Lampard's still choosing not to use him. Now, if you're a desperate manager, you would just throw him in. You'd just be like, we need our guy. But he's not desperate because Zouma, he believes in him and he believes in Christensen. And Lampard's giving those players that same thing that he's giving Tammy Abraham and the forwards like Mason Mount. I think that Christensen and Zouma as well, they need to get to the next level. Exactly what I was saying about Kovacic is true about them. They might not be as young as the strikers, but they certainly have not established themselves at this very, very high level of football that Chelsea are at. And it's a big, big chance for them, this transfer ban as well. So David Luiz has left. These guys have to take it on. Now, who's going to start? I don't know. It's all up for grabs. It's absolutely up for grabs. I think that's the way Frank Lampard looks at it, is that all these positions are up for grabs pretty much. A player can lose his spot like that, a few bad games and you're gone. Lampard's a nice guy, but he's also ruthless. He's a winner. I think that Zouma and Christensen needed to play well because they've got Rudiger breathing down the neck, and that's important.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from the fact that, you look at Zouma had like 1 missed pass initially in the first half, and people just wanted to kind of blow up at like, I can't believe he's done it. And then you look at the course of the entire game, that 1 pass issue was very minimal in comparison to the way he defended in the box, the way he was making challenges. That last challenge before the end of the match where he went Air Jordan, and there was the concern around his back for a second. But he definitely, and Christensen as well, I think are forming a good partnership and a good pairing and starting to understand where the other is going to be. And I think that's one thing that can't be understated, is that Christensen and Zouma, to be a really great pairing, need time to play with one another, to understand what's going to happen once certain situations occur on the pitch. And you can only train that so much. You need real game time, Nick, to be able to form that bond and that unity, to know where the other player is going to be. And you saw more of that today, especially in the second half when they really shorted up and became ball winners, stopping the attack, and help to recycle the ball back to our attackers and midfielders instead of allowing the Pookie party to continue.
Yeah, only 2 points on this would be that, you build confidence through, performance like that second half where, you have a lot more control. It's a little bit easier on you, to be fair. They weren't attacking us as readily as they were in the first half. And so that's kind of point 1. And I think point 2 is the fact that we haven't had a consistently good half of football from both this pairing this season. I think outside of the Super Cup, which was kind of off and on, there seemed to be solidity between Christensen and Zouma, although I think Zouma had the better game of the two. So you'd like to see them have a really good game together and see what they can do before Rudiger gets back and I think tries to take one of those spots for his own.
Well, I would just like to highlight Emerson as our last player that thought had a really standout day. He's actually was the highest rated on the pitch, according to Who Scored, which, again, feel free to fight that if you want, but he was an 8.7, Tammy was 8.3, Mount was an 8.2, so those are our top 3 players statistically, which doesn't take in the eye test. But Emerson's game by numbers versus Norwich, thanks to Squawka, he had the most touches at 99, the most tackles with 7, the most crosses with 6, and the second most chances created with 4. The left back also won 88.2% of his duels. So, we did see Alonso yesterday, and Emerson got pushed up and Alonso went to left back, but I think it's definitely going to be Emerson's to lose this season as far as everything. And I love seeing it. I mean, he's absolutely finding his own form, I think, which is great.
I think he's been probably our most consistent player this season so far. I know that the defense has been leaky. I don't think that's all been his fault necessarily. So, I've just really enjoyed watching him do the things that we thought he could potentially do when he came to Chelsea. And Naz, this is a guy who is just getting a consistent run of games, and he's just a talented footballer, period.
Yeah, definitely. I believe in him. I totally believe in him. I interviewed him at the end of last season before the Europa League final. I was glad he got into the final team. That guy's, physically impressive, quick, technically gifted. He was rated highly, before Chelsea signed him. I think Juventus wanted him. He tore his cruciate ligament. He's had to rebuild slowly. When he first joined Chelsea, he was injured, and it took him a while to get going. But he's always been a significant threat to Marcos Alonso, who's had a couple of good years at Chelsea, got a new contract as well. But it looks like the tide is turning, and I think that Emerson's the guy going forward, like you said. Really good, really good.